I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive the updates from these podcast episodes and all the content on follow us on social media, site PSP on Twitter, pitch site pod on Instagram. Also, listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform, and we're hitting Season 2, Episode 5. Thank you for the 1K, and obviously help us reach more. Thank you, and you're welcome. Let's kick things off in the episode, of course, talking about the first topic, and I chose to talk about the transfer window, in more particular, light. Talk about the transfer window of the club they support in Bayern Munich, of course. Definitely one of the most interesting, I would say, transfer windows in Europe, because Bayern are usually, it's known for people that Bayern are usually not the kind of team that goes out to buy players, like goes out of their way to buy players. Say they don't put big bids on players. You never see them being involved in the big names that cost 100 and 100 plus million. The record signing is Lucas Hernandez with 75 million euros. It's not exactly a big deal in this world today. You saw the numbers that have been put out there. Just as a piece of side news, by the way, yesterday late at night, actually last night, the deal for Eduardo Camavinga going to Real Madrid was finished. And Eduardo Camavinga was supposedly a potential transfer target for Bayern Munich this summer and of the last transfer window, also in the winter during the season. So that is, I think, a lost cause for Bayern now. As it is a lost cause, the right back position, which has been all sorts of problem for Bayern Munich this season, or the last season. Benjamin Pavard was not 100% fit. Bouna Sarr, not exactly the best person to fill that void. His matches were absolutely horrific. He has shambolic performances after shambolic performances over the course of a season, even in matches where he's supposed to be safe, so to speak, and matches that are not big, not a lot of pressure on them in the Bundesliga. He still performs badly and he still gives up mistakes and gives up goals. So that was a headache on its own. And Bayern Munich were linked with not one, not two, but three proper right backs. They were linked with Max Aarons, once in Norwich, now in Newcastle. They were linked with Denzel Dumfries from PSV, now in Inter, and of course Hakimi from Inter, now in PSG. All of these were potential transfer targets. And Bayern should have gotten one of those. They should have gone out of their way to get those. But definitely the financial structure of the club doesn't really allow to do such deals or to expend the budget of the club on such deals. So probably the fans should be accepting this, because the goal in this still pretty much pandemic era, that you get as stable financially as you can. But also think about it like this: if you think that Bayern Munich are a big team in Europe and favourites to win the Champions League and top contenders to win the Champions League, you think that they should go out of their way sometimes to secure some deals, to get some players from Europe, because the argument is that Bayern only buy from the Bundesliga and they are weakening the Bundesliga side. And that is, to a certain extent, almost sounds correct. Almost when you think about it, this season in particular, it sounds really, really correct and it rings true. It has been like that for quite a while, but realistically speaking, Bayern, are not raiding the Bundesliga each year for the best talent, but if you look at it like this, probably since the Lewandowski deal on a free from Dortmund to Bayern, it didn't look like Bayern really got any super players from the Bundesliga. Even like if you look at it like this, Bayern had the likes of Sebastian Rudy, and they had the likes of and they brought Goretzka from Schalke, being pretty much an average player. Now he transformed himself into a really great player, a beast on the pitch. But if you look at it like that, the names that went through Bayern from the Bundesliga kind of thing were not exactly big. They also returned to their clubs at a certain point. Mario Götze's deal was not successful as well. So, in the meanwhile, they brought a lot of players from outside the Bundesliga. They brought in Arturo Vidal, you saw Xabi Alonso coming in, we saw Perisic coming in, we saw Coutinho coming in, James Rodriguez coming in. And we saw those names coming in from outside the Bundesliga, and they had a bit of an impact. but, not the kind of an impact that people wanted, and for different reasons, not the right coach, the Niko Kovac era, then Hansi Flick, of course, was a great success, and now we are in the Julian Nagelsmann era, which brings us to this season transfer window. Brings us to the acquisitions that Bayern had this season. So, Bayern have Upamecano now. They have Sabitzer, of course, not a last minute necessarily, but a last minute signing, albeit the transfer was in the works for quite a while, and Bayern were quite interested in Sabitzer long ago. And definitely, the fact that he wanted to play for Bayern, not another team, because there were better offers, as I mentioned on the separate video about Sabitzer, that there is better teams and better offers to give for Sabitzer, and he accepted the Bayern offer, is quite a testament for the strength of Bayern's board. The strength of the brand, to be fair, to someone to choose to play there, being in the second best team in Germany, I would argue at the moment, a team that can legitimately challenge for the title, a team can legitimately be a force in Germany, is quite a testament for Bayern's strength and for Bayern's board strength, despite some of the individual decisions in that board, from the likes of Salihamidzic, who doesn't exactly seem keen on negotiating for players, going out for players. But I think getting someone like Sabitzer is, in my opinion, in my books, is considered a good coup, considering the whole perspective of the board, the way they spend money, the way they finance, the way they govern the team and all of that. So I think it's a good deal. And for 16 million euros, getting someone like Sabitzer, quite literally a joker in the midfield. He can play any position in that midfield: centre mid, defensive mid, right mid, left mid. It just works on so many levels with Nagelsmann connection. The fact that they know each other, he's going to use them in the proper way for sure. Upamecano, acquired since the halfway through last season, a great defender. Still could improve at 23 years of age. He could still learn a lot of trade. He has mistakes in him, but definitely he will improve, and he's a solid acquisition for Bayern. I would say he had a pretty decent start with Bayern Munich. I think the Super Cup game was a pretty good testament for him. The battle with Haaland, he was pretty decent, I think, in challenging Haaland over the course of that game, and definitely a player that can be a great defender for Bayern for years to come. Chris Richards and Omar Richards. Omar Richards was brought in from Reading, supposedly to replace Alphonso Davies, or to be a second option to Davies as a left back, while Lucas Hernandez is certainly going to move to the centre back position with Upamecano. So overall, I think there's no big deal of superstars coming to Bayern this summer. Sabitzer, yes, great player, as I mentioned, Upamecano as well, but there's no this massive deal, that kind of makes Bayern a destination, or makes people look at Bayern and say, oh, this player is signed for Bayern. Personally, I don't know how to rate Bayern Munich's transfer window. In my opinion, I don't want to forget that the important thing is that they renewed Kimmich and Goretzka's contracts. Kimmich, I don't think there was any doubt about it, but Goretzka, there were rumours that Man United were interested, there were rumours that Liverpool were interested, and someone like Goretzka, I think one of the best midfielders in the world, one of the best players in his position, I think there'd always be an interest from any big club or any great club that would need someone in that profile, in that position. So kind of balances the books. You have a good side of the transfer window for Bayern, signing those players and also renewing for the players that I mentioned, and definitely the bad side, which is not getting any true replacement in the right back. We're still going to go with Benjamin Pavard and Buno Sarr, and hopefully Stanisic gets a chance, because Benjamin Pavard doesn't seem to be fitting the bill at the moment. On the left-hand side, Alphonso Davies still the number one choice. I would argue maybe Omar Richards would come in as a replacement. And the rest of the team, is actually quite decent. People might not think about it, although Tolisso and Roca could leave the club in this season. If they don't leave today, in the deadline day, or one of them doesn't leave today on the deadline day, I think both are highly likely to leave the club in the next transfer window in the winter. So it's going to be quite hard, really, to rate the Bayern Munich transfer window without trying to, without waiting at least until halfway through the season to see who's going to leave, who's going to come in, if Bayern are going to make any moves in the fall, because usually they don't. Usually Bayern Munich don't do those moves in the fall. So we'll wait and see how these players are going to work. We'll wait and see how the system is going to work under Julian Nagelsmann, which I'm sure, and I have enough confidence that is going to be really good. And at least they should win something. They already won the Super Cup. They should at least win the Bundesliga this season, because, I mean, I don't see any squad in Germany being good enough to challenge to the last minute or the last end. So I think Bayern Munich should be in a safe place this season in the Bundesliga. But definitely they need more improvements. The right back position is still a headache that needs to be addressed and needs to be really solved and treated before the rest of the season, before the business end and the Champions League and all of that, if Bayern want to really dominate and if they want to go to a really higher place in terms of Champions League glory. Overall, I think I rate it, I don't know, 7 out of 10. That may sound quite generous if you're not a fan. I would say 6.5. I would say 6.5. I have great faith in Sabitzer. I love him, but also when you think of the positions that should Bayern strengthened, you think of the fact that the goalkeeper position is also in a bad need of a replacement for Neuer, who's now injured, and you have Sven Ulrich as your goalkeeper. So it definitely doesn't really make a lot of sense, and definitely still considered a problem ahead of the rest of the season. So overall, I think I rated 6 or 7 out of 10. If I'm being pretty generous with myself. From a team that had a average transfer window, I would say, to a team that had a massive transfer window and everybody was talking about, and that is of course PSG, and I don't need to tell you the names because I think you should know the names by now if you follow football closely. I have to name them, I guess, for the sake of information for some who may live under a rock. So PSG this season got Ramos from Real Madrid on a free. They got Donnarumma from Milan on a free. They got Messi on a free. Wijnaldum from Liverpool on a free. And they paid for Hakimi 60 million euros. And they still have Mbappe and Neymar on their books. So, of course, the biggest deal of them all is Messi. You have to be really, really crazy to think that there's any other big deal than Messi this season. It was shocking. It's still shocking. Still sort of surreal. I saw him play with PSG against Reims for like half an hour or so, and it's still surreal to me. Obviously, not the time, not the place, and I think we're way too late to try and explain what happened in Barcelona, why he left. I think the reasons were explained so many times by so many people that we don't need to really dive into it. The question was, and is actually, and will still be until the end of the season, will Messi bring Champions League success to PSG? That is the biggest question people have to ask about PSG this season. Not even if PSG can win it, it's if Messi can bring them success, because here's the thing. The PSG squad at the moment is just FIFA-esque. This is like FIFA Ultimate Team-esque kind of thing. You look at it top to bottom, really. They have two great goalkeepers in Donnarumma and Navas. They have some amazing defenders in Marquinhos. They have Kimpembe, who's good, still has to improve, but really good. They have Ramos, of course, experience, Champions Leagues and all that, and charisma. They have Hakimi, of course, on the right. That is surely going to be some speed martyr down that right hand side. In the middle, the likes of Paredes, Verratti, Idrissa Gueye, Ander Herrera. All these 4 players, and we're not even mentioning the likes of and I'm trying to find a place for someone like Di Maria, and we couldn't. For someone like Draxler, and we couldn't. Then you have Sarabia as a replacement. Is a really decent choice, like kind of a good player to bring on late in the game to conserve the pace and all of that. And then of course we have the contingent forward, which is just crazy: Neymar, Mbappe, Icardi, and of course Lionel Messi. So this squad is just ridiculously good. At least the starting 11 are something out of this world. But definitely you have to ask questions about the chemistry of the team, because you're right to think that this team should work and should be a team that everybody fears, and we're going to see probably firsthand when they meet Manchester City in the group stage at a certain point of the Champions League. But also you think, okay, this team should be winning the Ligue 1 easily and should walk through Ligue 1, which might not be the case, because from the first 3 games or the first 4 games, it does look like PSG are not exactly, I don't know how to say it. I'm not exactly hitting on 4 cylinders. Definitely Messi is still getting his way through the club and getting his way through the Ligue 1 sort of atmosphere. But definitely after a while, they should gel together. Messi should have a couple of starts. Obviously, he's going to start the next game. It's going to be at home for PSG after the international break. He's going to be a Champions League surefire Champions League player for PSG this season. That's why they brought him in first place. And definitely, he's going to be someone that the PSG players will look up to behind him. Mbappe and Neymar will play off him superbly. I'm sure of that. And you have, as I mentioned, the replacements that could really also benefit from his presence around the room. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy to think that I'm talking about Messi with any other club other than Barcelona. But again, it's not the time, not the place. And again, we're too late to explain what happened at Barcelona. I believe strongly that the chemistry in PSG, if they don't build chemistry enough in the Champions League, they won't win it. And I have this feeling that they just won't do it because something will make them fall, something will make them crumble, something will be their downfall. If it's not the chemistry lacking, if it's not the egos of the players not being managed well, it can't be anything else. I think if they keep the ego in check, and with the Mbappe story, goodness me, it's hard to do. The Mbappe story, the Mbappe rumours, the Real Madrid links, the whole saga that went on the last week or so about Mbappe. Is he going? Is he not going? Deal done, not done. 170 million euros, 180 million euros offer being presented, and there's no real substance to it. If he's going or not. It sounded like, okay, Real Madrid is going to buy Mbappe, and Mbappe is going to Real Madrid. And Spanish media were preparing themselves for an explosive presentation, explosive scoop, and they didn't. Because Mbappe, or PSG, refused to let Mbappe go this season, only to let him go on a free next season. Reportedly, they're going to try to convince him to stay and to sign a new contract and all of that, albeit, again, confirming that he doesn't have the intention to sign a new one. Good luck, PSG, in doing that. So, Messi, is he the missing piece? Potentially, but is he the piece? Is he the piece that's going to bring a whole team together? Maybe. Definitely, there is going to be some clash of egos at a certain point, somehow, some way. And here comes Mauricio Pochettino, is like in a dream place at the moment. He's managing all of these incredible talent, all of these incredible players, legendary players in the case of Messi and Neymar and Mbappe, players who've been on the highest level, who've done it all, players who their achievements just speak for themselves. Mbappe is a future Ballon d'Or winner, that's for sure. Neymar is, I don't know, I don't want to say the great that never was, but someone that his attitude or his sort of reputation precedes him as a player, or reputation off the pitch precedes him as a player. And reputation as a character also precedes him as a player and precedes his talent as a player. And then you have Messi, a whole case on its own with his whole glory, his whole titles, the trophies that he won with Barcelona and all of that, and his legendary status. So if you keep the egos in check, if Mauricio Pochettino could keep the egos in check, could create a good chemistry with a stable starting 11, because even with the strength of this squad, you can't really have the liberties to rotate a lot. You need to have a good squad, a good starting 11 that starts always, to build interest, to build chemistry, to build momentum for this team ahead of Champions League fixtures. You get a starting 11, you get a stable starting 11 that understands each other really well, that does the job really well, that gets what they need to do on the pitch, that gets the tactics right. And if you do so, I would say nothing would really be better for PSG than having all of these legendary players understanding each other, playing off each other really, really well, and terrifying the opponents. That is just a dream team for Mauricio Pochettino, and a dream that it shouldn't be given up anytime soon. The bottom of the line is, again, it boils down to two factors. Messi surely is going to be doing well at PSG this season. He's going to score goals. He's going to give assists. He's going to be great on the pitch. People are going to love to see him every week with PSG. But the question is the chemistry. I mean, the MSN was the MSN because it had chemistry. It's not because it only had Messi in it. It's because Suarez and Neymar were great. They were playing off Messi superbly. It's because they had a great team behind him as well. A team that had chemistry as well behind him. If the same thing happens at PSG, with all of these pieces that are brought from different places, it's almost like the Infinity Stones for Thanos and in the Avengers movies. It's like these places and pieces of players that they bring in from different leagues on a free, big names, to try and form this super team that is going to conquer Europe. So the question is, and again, the problem is, it comes down to a chemistry choice, and also an ego check. If you check their egos, if you keep the egos in check of players like Mbappe and Neymar, because Messi doesn't have an ego problem, I'm sure of that. We saw it over the years. So if you keep someone like Mbappe in check, someone like Neymar in check, even someone like Ramos in check, because Ramos has quite a big ego as well, and you keep the likes of Donnarumma as well in check. He's a pretty feisty player when it comes to ego. If you keep all of these players in check, I think everything will be fine. If not, probably this will be another titanic failure, because it's definitely going to be a massive failure. This is going to be a disaster if PSG do not win the Champions League with this squad, with these kind of players. That's it for watching. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I was with HAD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast, subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates. Follow us on social media. I'm at PSP on Twitter, Support on Instagram. Of course, turn notifications on to receive all the updates on the content on the channel. Follow us on social media and listen to us on Spotify and all other listening platforms. And until next time, I'll see you soon.